What is up? Welcome to the Transparency. Woo! Oh my God. What a Monday, man. Who's got a case of the Mondays? Well, let's get started. Steve Gonsalves says, hold my beer. He went on a world tour and it paid off. The President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, has entered, raw. No condom. He's entered Idaho, University of Idaho student murders on July 21st, 2025, 2 days before sentencing hearing. Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, he's got something to say.
President Donald Trump is also now weighing in on Brian Kohberger's plea deal on social media. Trump posted, quote, "While life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. But before sentencing, I hope the judge makes Kohberger, at a minimum, explain why he did these horrible murders. There are no explanations. There is no nothing. People were shocked that he was able to plea bargain, but the judge should make him explain what happened," end quote.
Excuse me, what? That is not end quote. Okay, she totally botched the most amazing part of what he said. Okay, so let me tell you guys what Donald J. Trump said. Brian Kohberger, who was responsible, not who is, who was responsible. Who was responsible in Idaho for the deaths of 4 wonderful young souls, has made a plea bargain deal in order to avoid the death penalty. These were vicious murders with so many questions left unanswered. While life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. But before sentencing, I hope the judge makes Kohberger, at a minimum, explain why he did these horrible murders. There are no explanations. There is no nothing. That is like what I always say to you guys. Like, wait, there's no nothing here. There's nothing here. There is no nothing. God love it. People were shocked that he was able to plea bargain. But the judge should make him explain what happened. Thank you for your attention to this matter. End quote. I don't know how you can be in the business that woman is in and literally try, like, there's the quote, and she goes, quote, end quote, and does not quote the president correct. Like, isn't that just mind-blowing? It's kind of par for the course, though. Incel my ass.
President Donald Trump is also now weighing in on Brian Kohberger's plea deal on social media. Trump posted, quote, "While life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. But before sentencing, I hope the judge makes Kohberger, at a minimum, explain why he did these horrible murders. There are no explanations. There is no nothing. People were shocked that he was able to plea bargain, but the judge should make him explain what happened," end quote.
She missed, thank you for your attention to this matter, and she missed the first beginning part. So I have no idea why she just didn't read it all. Anyways, what do you guys think? It has nothing to do with, I don't care who's our president. This has to do with the fact that the president of the United States of America weighed in on this. Just wow. Sarah says she did fine. She missed the whole beginning. Brian Kohberger, who was responsible in Idaho for the deaths of 4, she missed all of that whole beginning part. Um, wow. In my opinion, I believe this is huge, says Listen Linda. There was also a really good interview done with Kaylee's sister, Olivia. Um, she gives Bubbly Waters a shout out. I don't know if it's a good one, but woo. Amanda says, I love that he called attention to this case. People can hate on him all they want, but it deserves to be called out. Sure does. So did Steve Gonsalves have anything to do with this by, being so, you know, vocal? He was just in New York, and or was this just that ridiculous that you have to be deaf, dumb, and blind to not know about this case, I feel like, and just like what has transpired here in the past couple weeks. So, what do we got here? Jill says one more way to take attention off of his. Okay, I would highlight that, but that might flag some people over here. Carmen says, I don't mind President Trump. I'm glad he's paying attention. I know, you should look at the Delphi case. Holy. He hates corruption and fentanyl. Thank you there. I'm really liking your comments today, Linda. Amazing he or his team are across the most VIP. I was trying to highlight that. Sorry, hold on. CBTV. Amazing he or his team are across the most VIP point in this unsatisfactory plea bargain. Yeah. It's just, I feel like, I think I've said this numerous times. I just don't believe that these type of cases should ever be plead. Like, I just don't think that it shouldn't even be an option. Okay. A death penalty case that you wanted, to seek the death penalty, and then you plea bargain with a case that you sought out because it's the heinous of the heinous. It's an oxymoron. Christina, sorry. Stephanie, is that right, Steph? Love Trump. He will get rid of all the rot that's going on. Wish we had him here in Australia. Well, hello to Australia. What time is it over there? Curious. Terry H says, well, Trump's posts often have hidden meaning. The weird misspelled words, capitalizations, etc. mean something. I'm not saying this one is code, but was responding to B, who said he had weird posts. Yeah. This was put out for you guys at 11:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time zone. So those people that were waking up, just after 8, going into 9 in the morning on the West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, they were waking right up to it. Haha, Hitler, take your rude statement no judge has ever made and shove it. I know, Hitler. What do you guys think? I'm going to tell you what I think, but I can't believe that people think that this is a political, it's like, how do I want to say this? Strike that. I don't believe that Donald Trump is trying to influence or whatever to a judge. I don't think that's what's going on here. So people that are out there saying that I can't believe that it's bad enough Steve got all these civilians, calling and writing the judge. But now he's got the president of the United States of America And this is like what? I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with Trump writing this. People can say that he is trying to deflect away from everything that's going on with Epstein. I mean, this is what you would do it with. Come on. I don't know. What's up, New Orleans lady? What do you think? What do you think? I don't think anybody can make anybody talk because we do have the right to remain silent. I don't know. But when you're waiving your rights, yeah. I'm curious what Olivia said too. We're going to get into Olivia's interview because Olivia said that the prosecutors told her that, ethically they could not make Brian Kohberger do X, Y, and Z. They said the words ethically, not legally. So, the G's sound very pleased about it on their Facebook post. Let's go to that. That was going to be next. Okay. Calm down, guilter. Who's a guilter? Oh my God, Colleen? Colleen with one L. I never trust anybody that only has one L when they should have two. Colleen is a guilter. Calm down, guilter. Colleen, are you a guilter? Who the hell is saying that that's what that says? I am so sorry, Colleen, that you have comprehension issues. If you cannot comprehend what those couple sentences mean, I feel for you. I think he's trying to get some answers for the family, Colleen. That's what I think. I think he's trying to get some answers for the family, Colleen. What do you think, girl? Is that what you think, girl? Colleen, that's what I think. I'm hearing other people say it. Well, I have no idea why you would come in here and say that then. Other people. I ain't no motherfucking other. I am Lana Oriani. Have a good day, Colleen. Colleen. There are no such thing as guilters or non-guilters or fucking rub-a-dub-dub duckies. We are all human beings over here. And by God, what a day. We got Lally looking like a complete asshole on the stand. We got Donald Trump talking about the Brian Kohberger case. Olivia does an amazing, absolutely amazing interview with Brian Enton. And if you don't know, Brian Enton now pieced off on his own to have his own YouTube channel, kind of like the way that Ashley Banfield did hers. They are so much better when they do their own podcasts and when they don't have to play puppet to, the narrative with mainstream media. I'm all for independent journalism, independent reporting, independent everything, all day, every day. So, ooh. So last night I was watching, there was a police chase in Columbus with, I don't know, it was down in the ghetto. And I couldn't stop watching it. Anyways, so as I'm watching that, I was like, oh, I wonder, think about it. The only thing that would be on your mind right now from probably last week to like Wednesday is, can you imagine addressing the person that killed your sibling, and what the hell you'd say to them. Midnight. I like this comment. I do have reservations about the executive branch telling the judicial branch what to do, as I think that would be more the domain of the legislative branch. However, this case is, yes, it's demonstrably BS. Absolutely. I like that. I like that comment. I think anything goes in this case. Thank you for that comment. Love having the brains in here. That's what I said. Separation of power. Like that one. Nomad said, I'm almost finished with the Patterson book. How boring and full of nothing is it? I make it fun. I do. Do you think this case will go to the Supreme Court? I think that it should, because of the massive violating of our rights that went on in this case. Does not mean that Brian Kohberger is innocent, so keep it separate. This case was an absolute, just pure shit show. And I do not think that judges should be able to call expert witnesses conspiracy theorists, and not give them a chance to talk, and also keep, like, he needs to go immediately to that area to start unsealing stuff, because I think that someone like Cyrus should be able to talk about whatever it is that, you know, Hitler mouthed off about that day. But as long as that document, any document that is sealed, just because the gag order is lifted, they won't be able to talk about that document. So if there was a motion and there was exhibits and it's sealed, people can talk because the gag order is lifted, but there's things that they cannot talk about or show or give out because it's sealed. So, like, for me, I want Nick Balance's report and I want Cyray's report. And I want to see what Nikki Poo was going to be testifying to. And I want to see how Cyray was going to crush it, because he was. And I think that all of you guys would like to see that too, because it was Nick Balance that supplied the lies that went in the probable cause that Gardner, that's how they got arrests or an arrest. Then this isn't the only case that they're doing that shit in. It's fucking sick what they're doing. And same thing, if you guys saw what went on with this Michael Proctor Lally discovery bullshit, you know, who the fuck do these people think they are? Who do these people think they are? You guys, I finally got some of my discovery that I wanted back. WSU's been loving me. I love the way the WSU does it, though. You get to have, like, your own account, and I'll show you guys my account. I got to figure out a way to blur off the left side because it has like personal identifying stuff. But I will show you every single FOIA. I can't call it FOIA. Public requests that I put in, and you know, my 50-cent one, because I was going to use my card versus just being a penny. Well, that's this puppy right here. They had to make sure my 50 cent went through. And it's Curtis James Whitman's, you know, his time sheet for, you know, October, the month before the murders, November, and December. And here's a spoiler, because this is going to come up in my next episode. In the month of October 1st to November 1st, 2022, Curtis James Whitman, he worked regular hours, 119. He worked premium hours, 39. And he had 73 8.75 hours of paid time. And we're going to show you how all that busts down. So that's that. He was the guy that just rolled up to Brian's car and found it and didn't turn it in. He was physically like at Brian Kohberger's car on either, we're going to find out, 11, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, because Jenkins just blew it. So hello. Come on in. Monday night with Lana. Go Bills. All right. Without further, we're going to jump into this interview. So yeah, I did some thinking, and I was like, man, to have to tell, or it would keep me up all night thinking what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say, when I'd be addressing the person that killed my brother or sister. Like, whew. So this is Olivia. She did an interview with Brian Enton. Like I said, Brian Enton went off on his own. He still does the News Nation stuff, but he started his own podcast, which is, instead of JLR Investigates, it is Brian Enton Investigates. So let's go ahead and pull this up. It's a really, really good interview. Olivia does a great job. I think, like I said, I can't say enough good things about it. It's really good. Brian Enton. I thought I had this up already. Brian Enton Investigates. Can you imagine him and JLR? Out and about.
I kind of had to switch gears because the purpose for me isn't so pointed, right? It's
Emotional.
So thank you for.
I don't get to do these things. So in a way for me, it was like, I get to do this, I get to show up for you. So it's been really hard kind of grieving that part of it, because I think I had hyped it up in my head to be this like grand gesture that I was doing out of like sisterly love. And then to have it taken so quickly has just kind of felt like whiplash. But today's actually a good day. So on that flip side, I think that I have days where I feel stronger and, you feel kind of a weight has been lifted. This isn't something that I have to put myself through. In fact, it won't happen. This is an outcome that I no longer have to stress about, because I have 4 kids. They're all, younger, and the logistics of doing this for months in Boise was going to be really hard. So today's actually a pretty good day.
What was it like at the plea hearing? I had been texting with you, but I didn't really get a chance to talk with you too much. But I saw you going in from a distance, and I was just thinking about you and your mom and your dad too, and I can't imagine what that was like.
It was honestly pretty annoying, and that's just honestly my first reaction there. We didn't have any sort of communication with the prosecutors, like park here, we'll meet you, nothing like that. So we had to park across the street at Winco, just because we figured we'd be able to get a spot there. And as you're walking out, people start to, recognize probably who my dad is, maybe who my mom is. And it just felt like we were walking up already feeling kind of vulnerable, and then it just started closing in, right? And you're kind of just asking for space, and, you need to back up and this and that. And it's really not given. Actually, on the way in across the street, because we were across the street at Winco, there were 3 officers standing outside of a cruiser. And I was like, hey, is there any way that you can kind of help us just like get across the street and into the courthouse? And they were super kind. And of course, they helped us in that way. I think the hardest part was my dad and brother waited outside of the courthouse. And that's hard not to walk in united, but then also to respect that this whole process has, yes, we're united as a family, or, even all of the families, I'd say, but it is very much an individual path. I can't put my mom and my dad on my back and make them walk my path, and vice versa. So it was hard not to walk in with, my dad who is, so it already just felt kind of, and so we're just sitting there waiting. Eventually we get taken to a little waiting room and then moved into an empty courtroom, and we're just waiting. And the police officers are there, and they're kind of talking on their walkie-talkies back and forth a little bit. And I think that anxiety crept in for my mom especially. And it just felt like I just want to rip this Band-Aid off. Getting in, we were walking in, we were in they're kind of pew setups. So I think that we were in that fourth.
So what she's talking about is just the experience of going in and seeing him when Brian did his, pleading guilty. Again, Brian Enton. So Brian Enton does his own thing now. Brian Enton investigates. Go like and subscribe. I think that this is a really phenomenal interview. I think he does a great job by letting Olivia talk and let her just say, it's not choppy. It is what it is.
Row on the way back, and on the other side of us was members of the public. So once again, just like a very vulnerable feeling of, feeling misplaced, I guess. And then once proceedings started, the judge kind of started in a funky way. I'll leave it at that for now.
I like that, in a funky way. So we're gonna pass this because all she says is that he started. Everybody, we all know how he started.
Preferred form of what is justice.
Was it weird seeing his parents? Because I had seen them the first hearing in Pennsylvania, but I had never seen them again. But I was wondering what it was like for you guys.
That's a fair question.
No, and it was just another thing where it's just like annoying, where I get it. I'm a mother. I have a son. But you think to yourself, and obviously I don't want to be in their shoes. I do want to, extend empathy. I don't know what that looks like. And I hope that, of course, I never do. But, my son comes home in the car that they're looking for, and he's aggressively cleaning his car in the garage.
Okay, so I got to hear more about this. Like this whole cleaning the car in the garage aggressively. All right. So I've talked to Scott Roeder numerous times, and he says, Lana, you're either going to see and have trace DNA in there, you're going to have something transported. I mean, when you leave, when you go somewhere, you're taking something with you. Just what it is. And if you don't, then you're going to have a big sign of a cleanup. Like it's one or the other. Okay. Because I was adamant to ask Roeder about this stuff, because I always felt that the car is the most important piece because of how important this car is it's like basically a secondary crime scene. And there's no nothing. There's no nothing. And so I'm telling you, what it leads me to believe is that I don't think that Brian went there in that car. If Brian went there, I just don't think he went there in that car, which makes sense. Who the fuck would go in their own car? You know what I mean? Especially if you're planning on doing what, even if it was just to kill Maddie, and he ended up killing more people. But if he's planning this out, I'm gonna go take my car. Also, cleaning it out in Pennsylvania. I mean, where do you clean a car at when you live in an apartment complex? Right? You can't. I mean, you're in your apartment complex. Like, there's just a parking lot. There's no hose, and you got to take it to a car wash. So Brian Kohberger comes driving all the way home, and you think that's when he would have cleaned his car? To me, that doesn't make any sense. He would have had to clean it. His dad got up in that car, drove across the country in that car, right? Ben Gay up in that car before. And then if you think he dextered it and he wrapped it like Mark B did, okay? Mark B will tell you how long that would have taken, and but I just want to know It's got to come from either the Pennsylvania State Police, the FBI that was there, them saying that he was cleaning his car crazy style in the garage. If the garage was open? I mean, was the garage just as there's a bucket in your garage? You guys, I have like 5 buckets in my garage. It doesn't mean I'm cleaning, you know? So I'm curious to see who saw him doing that. You know, where's that coming from?
Odd hours of night, I might feel a certain way. And then as more facts come out, I think that you can continue to love someone, but know that you don't support or condone their behavior or actions.
Absolutely.
I understand it was their right to be there. But yeah, that was a little frustrating. I didn't feel anger towards them. I just kind of felt like, wow, okay.
And like you said, I mean, he just gave these one-word answers and things to be.
Never really had that conversation with the prosecutors that was like, this is happening. You know, I need you guys to prepare yourself. If it's accepted, that's that. So we were really taken aback in general. Our main argument wasn't ever for there not to be a plea deal. It really came down more to, let's get.
See, I love how she explains this. Like, listen, we were never just like against a plea deal, people. Like, it was just the way it all happened. And that, wait, can't we get like some concessions here? You know? So I think that she just does a great job of explaining this to everybody that's out there that's, you know.
A full confession. And I think that that is what would have made the big difference for us. And it's kind of multifaceted. It was difficult to hear Thompson make his factual basis. I think that's what they called it, because the amount of times you heard him say, and we can't prove that, and we don't know this, and we don't think this, in my opinion, was very weak.
There she goes. Okay, and look at I got her on a great eye roll there. Like, exactly. I've been telling you guys, this is a weak ass case. Doesn't mean he didn't do it. It's a weak ass case. And you know, people that are narcissists would have never done a plea deal, right? Why didn't Brian Kohberger go to trial? Remember the Aunt Taylor saying, listen, it's multiple weapons, multiple people. Like, they're going to have she says that, hey, you guys have a story. We want to have a story, right? That's always been her thing because it resonates more with the jury. And after reading all these transcripts of the Delphi case, I can tell you what really resonates with a jury. And then watching the Karen Reed case is people being prepared, lawyers being prepared. Okay. Listening as a defense attorney or even like a prosecutor. If you're going to cross-examine someone, you need to listen to what the hell they are testifying to. Okay. Write all, like, make your notes about what they're testifying to, because on cross-examination, you want to ixnay all those things and really hit those home for the jury to already know that they were taken. Oh, then they can put this off right next to it. Oh. So here Olivia says, yeah, that was horrible. It was so weak. And she's so right. And hearing that,
especially when there was an outcome, there was an ending here where we didn't have those questions, where, you know, there was a full admission. I also think that the full admission would have been helpful, not only for our healing, because I think for me specifically, and I wish I wasn't this way, I need that full picture, right? I still just feel like I don't even understand what the hell happened, right? Like, none of it makes sense to me. And I can look at these facts, but as far as putting something together in my head that makes sense, it's really difficult for me to do with a lack of. But I also think that so many people are, you know, invested or interested in this. And I do think that it has changed a lot of people's lives. And I think that they deserve to have the confidence as well. I think that there was certain elements, like where the murder weapon was, you know, certain chemicals that he used on his car, you know, certain receipts, certain, you know, data that was deleted from his phone that could have been kind of corroborated potentially to further put to bed some of that white noise that exists online and some of what these conspiracy theorists continue to this day slander mainly my sisters through this process, you know, and to say that, oh, he's a fall guy, or, you know, he's not really guilty, or, you know, XYZ, and use whatever convoluted, you know, piece of something or nothing at all to kind of prove their argument. So it would have been nice to have that level of confidence. Not that we ever thought that this defendant wasn't guilty, just because it's like, let's put every nail in his coffin.
Boom.
You know?
perfectly said. Perfectly said. Let's put every nail in his coffin. Exactly. And that's what reasonable doubt. Like that's why you have a trial. That's reasonable doubt. Like that's why you do that. You know what I mean? I think she says it perfectly. Like, why aren't we like Thompson? Why didn't you put every nail in his coffin that you could have possibly said in your little factual spiel? You know? It was awful. It's just bad.
I don't have a more eloquent way to say that.
What did you ever get a chance to tell the prosecution that you wanted a full confession, and did they ever respond?
So as soon as we got the email on Sunday, I was kind of trying to do everything that I could. We didn't even know if the deal had been sent to the defense. But immediately I said, has this been sent to the defense? And like, can we include concessions for the victim's family in the form of XYZ? And at first it wasn't just a confession. It was also, kind of like, can we make him not be able to make money off of this? Can we make him not be able to talk to members of the media? I understand that there's First Amendment rights there and stuff, but in the moment, you're not necessarily thinking super clearly. You're just trying to say like, well, give me something here. And they replied the following morning and said that they could meet with us later in the afternoon, but that the deal had already been sent to the defense and there was nothing they could do. And then
the deal had already been sent to the defense and there's nothing they can do. So she's saying the deal had already been sent to the defense. See, this is where I don't just want to know that right there when she says the deal had already been sent to the defense, and it means the defense has to accept the deal. It wasn't like, we're going to accept this deal, Now that doesn't mean that Ann Taylor couldn't have called up Bill. Hey, remember all those hours I worked for you back in the day? Okay, well, I really don't want to kick your ass. I've been kicking your ass for the past 2.5 years. Why don't you guys put a deal together? I think we can make this happen. I really don't want to embarrass you. You think that's what Ann Taylor said? Hey, Bill, now's your chance if you want to throw me a deal. After just saying everything and all these motions, I just would be like, what? If I was Bill, I'd be like,
we met with them later that afternoon.
Fucking take your deal and shut up your ass, ho. That's what I would have said if I was Bill Thompson. But I'm starting to get the feeling, supposedly, Bill Thompson, and I did not know this all the way, he is not for the death penalty. He's anti the death penalty. Well, then why are you seeking the death penalty? What? You shouldn't even be the prosecutor then. If you are anti the death penalty, what in the world is going on here? How are you trying this case? How are you the one? Backseat Bill, baby. I also don't think that you should be able to use the death penalty as a bargaining chip.
Afternoon after the deal had already been accepted. So I even continued on after the deal had been, accepted or whatnot, because it hadn't gone to court yet. It hadn't been accepted by the judge. And I continued to literally beg and plead that they amend it to include the full confession. At that point, that was all we were fighting for. And they eventually, replied and said that it would be an ethical issue for them to do so. So I think legally they could have, but because of the ethics for this quadruple murderer, they were not willing to make any concessions on our behalf.
I think on the outside.
Why? Okay, you guys, it makes no sense that they wouldn't have tried that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, here, you guys, plea deals go back and forth. So it's like a settlement. You know what I mean? Like, you're going back and forth. So think about buying a house. You come in with this, then you go back, and you say this, and you say, hey, if you throw in that too, then okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. So it just I hope Bill Thompson one day, and if he talks about how that whole thing happened.
Everyone has wanted to know what the motive is. Have you been able to get any information? Is there anything that we don't know about whether he you know, who the target was or whether he had a connection to someone in the house or why that house had.
I think that this connection theory started when they announced that this was a targeted incident, right? Because people, and they use this targeted incident as a way to say that the community was safe, right?
Absolutely, they did. 100%. They wanted to tell, they did not want the community to be freaking out. So what she goes on to continue to say here, because I'm going to fast forward a little bit, is she says that they said that one of the people were the targets when they were working on the case because obviously you have 2 surviving roommates. The person went inside and then directly upstairs, which until you would have gotten blood work back and like, it's interesting. But that the target was, you know, and then Kaylee was sleeping in Maddie's room. He didn't know that. He wasn't expecting that. And he was just going to go into Maddie's room, kill Maddie, and then leave. And then he ended up killing Kaylee because she was in that bedroom. And then Xana coming upstairs and then him then chasing down Xana, going and then to Xana's room, killing Xana, and then killing Ethan. And then, you know, Dylan and Bethany. So they believe that Maddie was the target. Maddie was, you know, Kaylee wasn't around as much leading up to that. But she doesn't like to talk about it. And it makes sense because it's like, in a way, it feels like you're victim blaming, but you're not, but it makes her feel that way, to think that, you know, because what it makes you feel like is that all the other deaths then are on her, like, because of Maddie, because Brian wanted Maddie, killed Maddie, and then that's what trickled down. I think it's sad regardless. This is just awful.
I think that was definitely the wrong word choice. And I think that if I go back now and watch those press conferences with Sheriff Fry, you can see that, right? Where he says, we can't say that the community.
Sheriff Fry. That made me giggle when I first watched it. I was like, isn't he just still a chief?
Community isn't a threat. But by then the targeted had stuck so much for whatever reason. I think what they meant to say was something along the lines of, we believe these victims have passed some time ago and there hasn't been any further attacks on the community. And the roommates inside the house were home during this attack and they also were not attacked. So we think that the community is safe because of the time lapse that has happened here. But I think maybe an easy way to say that is targeted. Maybe I was saying it's targeted and you literally say in a press conference, you're just going to have to trust us. And then at the end, it's all found out that, well, he didn't have a connection to anyone. So we're obviously sitting there thinking, well, then how the hell is it targeted? I don't know a why. I think that even if he was hooked up to a lie detector and given truths.
I think if you're going with the book, the only thing that would make sense is that Brian's MO isn't to go in and kill people. Brian's MO is to steal things so that he can feed his drug habit. I'm really curious if Brian began using it again. But I just think that's massive escalation. You know, stealing, going into people's houses that you know, your friends' parents' house. Yeah.
Theorem, his, why would be that he was just desperately trying to feel anything at all because he's a psychopath and he doesn't feel human emotions the way we do. I don't think it's a reason that would make sense to any of us because we aren't that. I think that reasoning would only make sense to
that's a great way to say
that type of, human being or whatever you want to call him. But as far as the connection goes, I do truly believe in my heart that he at some point had spotted probably, I don't like to say Maddie because
that's when she talks about that.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just that stubbornness in us, is to stop feeding it. About it, like kind of in a calculated manner. So no, I hope that after sentencing, no one ever says his name again. This narrative where it's done in a.
Would you want him to Kohberger to
first? And I think that's the only place he planned to go. And I don't think that he anticipated Kaylee and Maddie being in bed together.
And back to what you said about the prosecutor's factual basis, it doesn't seem like they really know either, right? I mean,
they told us they don't know. We didn't know if that was kind of a bluff and they had, something that just was covered by the gag or whatnot, but they have never told us that they believe it was blank.
would you want him to,
Isn't that interesting?
would you want him to like do some kind of interview where he tells all, or would
I don't think so. And I understand how that sounds contradictory, but let me explain. I think that it should have been I think that it should have been done within the bounds of the legal system where he didn't have control over it, where he doesn't get to, control this narrative, where it's done in a sterile environment. And in a way that
what's her name? Lori Vallow doing all these exclusives. Bitch, you are crazy. I don't care to hear anything about your fucking crazy ass,
is, read or perceived as a court document. It's not about him. It's not about his name. It's not about his face. It's not about his voice. It's literally a means to an end, right? It's, this individual has this information, whatever, X, Y, Z, if you just think about it, like kind of in a calculated manner. So no, I hope that after sentencing, no one ever says his name again, because I think that an individual like he is, any attention is positive. He views it positively. It doesn't matter if someone's talking poorly or talking positively about him, because attention is what is craved and it feeds into his ego. So for me, I think the best way to, kill an ego is to stop feeding it. I hope that his name is never on another headline, call him the defendant, call him whatever you'd like. There's 4 other names that are much more worthy of, being written or spoken or remembered than his name. And to be honest, I don't say his name. I've never said his name, like in an interview setting, very, very rarely within the confines of my own home, very, very rarely, in a text message with a family member or anything, because I don't think he deserves it.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned the people who do matter, your sister Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, Maddie. I think something about them, I think, came through, and I think that's
right. And then I also think just the nature of it, of knowing that, even in a community as small and as safe, I would still call Moscow a safe place, believe it or not. In the middle of the night, 4 of them, one of them being Ethan, who was a really tall guy, really strong guy, really tall and strong guy.
Oh, I've been so inspired. And same with the Chapins who I've met.
Together, we were all, we were well-rounded family together. But I think individually, sometimes you see those not so well-rounded edges. I know they exist in me. I know they exist in my dad. And I think my dad
are kind of similar.
Yeah, in this industry, saying you got to control it or someone else will. So yeah, I was very happy to put down my interview hat and be more of that that support position for my dad. I begrudge it, maybe, but I guess it just comes down to trust your sources, and I think that goes for everything. If you're getting your news from a TikToker, named True Crime Bubble Waters or whatever.
Bubbly, we love you out there. I was like, okay, true crime.
Maybe just double check the facts that are coming.
What about Drunk Turkey? She was funny because she's talking about names here, like names of channels. Be careful of your sources. So, truth and transparency is still credible, man. I think any press is good press. Keep on keeping on. No, I mean, you guys, transparency is what eliminates the BS. And I am more convinced than ever. I don't see conspiracies going on. I see incompetence, you guys. I just think growing up, you think that police, they're so smart, you know what I mean? They're just smart, and detectives, and then as you get older, you're just like, wow, these people are just fucking not no pots. Like, they just don't have it up here. So yeah, I just see more of incompetence. I see more of incompetence, and then people needing to cover their own ass so that they don't lose their job. And it then leads to, you get a couple people doing that fuck shit in a case. But and everyone always says, why are you always talking about these cases or whatever, because I don't go around talking about, hey guys, let me show you this case where everybody did their jobs. No, they're supposed to do their job. We actually pay their salaries. Like, they're supposed to do their job. You go to work, you're supposed to do your job. All right. I'm not in the boat of everybody gets a trophy. I'm not in that camp. Okay. Sorry, but everybody has a gift though. It just, whatever your gift is, go do it. You know, if you can't make a layup, don't try out for basketball. Hey, you can draw really well. All right. Go be an artist. But you bring voices to cases that need it. And where it's just like, this doesn't seem, there's something, you know, or is there something off here? Or wait a second. Why would I want to talk about a case that's like Landon, do you ever think anybody is fucking guilty? Yeah, every case I don't talk about, I think they're guilty. How about that? You know how many cases I don't talk about? I don't talk about it because why? Because there's nothing to fucking talk about. So do you want me to do a segment where I say, here is the Wednesday wonderfuls of the world? Ooh, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the news, guys. Yeah. I wouldn't say the person's name that killed my sibling. All these things, it just, you know, it's important to put yourself in the shoes of the people that are going through this fucking, can you imagine going through something like that? No. I mean, you can try to, but like you. And then when you're going through something like that, then you have all this media and you have people in people's chats talking about the way people look or something like that. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? How can it be that that's what you're typing in a comment section instead of listening to the story, listening to the material we talk about? And that's when I've always learned in life that extraordinary people don't talk about people. They talk about things. But dense people, you're always going to find them talking about people. That's where you need to stay away from. People talking about people. Material. So we can disagree with people. And it's usually with the material, with the arguments. But don't diminish the arguments by attacking the person with their looks or their clothes or whatever the fuck else. Like, that's just such baby fucking 4th grade bully shit. And I would tell you to come on out to recess and let me fucking pop you. Because mommy and daddy aren't doing it. So I'll be your mommy and I'll be your daddy. So let's go out to recess. Let's play some dodgeball. I'll blast you a couple times with the ball. And then I'll trip you a couple times on purpose.
I think that in this process, I've learned that there's just a lot you got to let go. You know, there's a lot of battles. And if you pick every single one,
True that.
What's going to be left of you? So I try to be strategic with the battles I pick. And the books and the, docuseries, they're not a battle I'm going to pick.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the people you mentioned, TikTok and the conspiracy theorists and stuff, I mean, they're always going to be around in any case, in any situation. I mean, you know what I mean? They're all just waiting to pounce. So I think it's better.
I'm a transparency person. So when people are like, you're a conspiracy theorist, I laugh. I'm like, fuck out of here. I'm a document whore. I love documents. And I will question everything. I question things. I don't, just because you say it's this, that, or the other doesn't make it that. Sorry. Once I sniff it out, move on. Okay, it's good. Cool.
Better to just not pick those battles sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, somebody
Win the war, baby. Win the war. Lose battles, win wars.
battles are, easier to let go than others, for sure, right? Like the demolition of the house. That was a hard battle to let go of. But, the books or, the YouTuber.
Let's ask ourselves that question though. Who do you think would have benefited more from having the house up? The defense or the prosecution in this case? Because I think it would have. I think both of the people, meaning Ann Taylor and Bill Thompson, both of their teams clearly looked at it in different ways, and they both had to have thought that destroying the house helped their case. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, in order for you to just totally be fine with the house being wrecked and destroyed, right? Both sides, for whatever reason, however they were viewing this, they both thought that it was best for their case if the house wasn't there. Think about that. You know? I try to put myself both in like Bill's shoes and like Ann's shoes and just, okay, well, what are the pros and cons for me to keep it? But at the end of the day, if they're both saying that they're okay with it being destroyed, that tells me that that house has weaknesses for both of them. And they think that their case is better off with it destroyed. Both of them think that. Think about that. Because it wasn't like it went in front of the judge and or that one side wanted it and one side didn't, and they were fighting over, it's not what happened. They were like, yep, go ahead. Okay.
Or the TikTokers, and a lot of them are very, positive, but
thank you, Olivia. I know you're speaking to me. Thank you.
Those are little battles. They piss me off for a minute, but I think that I just realized, like, does this individual have, a life that I, envy or aspire for? And if that answer was no, then I try not to concern myself with, the content being spewed out there. Easier said than done. I mean, clearly.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. What about the sentencing? Like, I know you're getting ready for it. Like, where are you at in that process?
That's funny.
So my husband had to have a heart-to-heart with me because I was really conflicted.
This is my favorite part.
I'll explain, kind of what I'm conflicted.
This is my favorite part. This is like, listen to this. This is good.
About, right? So originally, the victim impact statements would have been made after a jury had come to a decision on guilt, but before the sentencing. In that scenario, my victim impact statement would be directed towards the jury and the decision that they had ahead of them for the sentencing. So that's for me, a very pointed goal. I can come up with something like that. That would also be after a trial had occurred. We had seen the evidence, the exhibits, arguments. So we would, be, armed with that knowledge, right? The secondary, reality that could have existed here is a plea deal was made, but the sentencing wasn't made. And the sentencing would be made by the judge. So I would be able to make a pointed, statement towards the judge who had a decision to make. But that also didn't occur because the sentencing was tied into the plea deal and will not be argued for a lesser sentence. So, there's a little bit of a existential crisis that exists that's like, well, then what the hell am I even doing? Right?
There you go.
It's not going to make a difference as far as sentencing goes.
Think about that. When you break it all down, like she just did, like her husband had said to her, hey, had a heart to heart, which I think is awesome. you would then come to the realization that, okay, what is this truly for? Because the outcome, what I say, what she says, if I'm putting myself in her shoes, right? What I say has nothing, it is not going to change or influence or impact any outcome. The outcome's there. So what is it? And that's why I wanted Steve to go. Because I would make it about my kid.
I feel like I can cry for 1,000 years and still never be able to truly articulate the impact that this loss has had on not just me, but my husband, my children. You know, I could probably go on for the rest of my life and still have more to say. So I kind of had to switch gears because the purpose for me isn't so pointed, right? It's a little vague. And I started writing, like 3 different types of speeches. One was almost like a funeral speech, like, an ode to Kaylee and Maddie. And then one was more so directed towards, like that raw heartbreak of, speaking to them throughout this whole process and, giving them in some semblance a goodbye of like a close to this chapter. And then the third type of speech that I was writing was directed at the defendant himself. And I mean, that's what I eventually went with. So my speech isn't about the process, the court, the lawyers, the judge, it's not even really about Kaylee or Maddie, because Kaylee and Maddie know they've been with me every single step of the way, and I refuse to get up there and further re-victimize myself over and over and over for a defense.
She's gonna fucking bring it. She is gonna fucking bring it on Brian. And I think she should. She is going to open his ass up like Ben Gay wishes that he would have. She is going to unleash on him. I'd be putting in my my speech into Grok and asking Grok what Grok's opinion would be. It's gonna be I mean, think about it. I mean, I'd probably make him feel this big. You're right. You like that? Do you hear that? So I want to know who's all giving, speeches, because I want to know, is Green gonna show up and give a speech for all the vandals? That community. I just feel like he's been at every, big stage. Can you imagine if they call President Green to speak on behalf of the vandal community?
Defendant who does not give a damn. I no amount of tears, no amount of, tearjerkers, hearts, nothing is ever going to make him feel anything at best. And at worst, he enjoys it.
He enjoys it.
And I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah, he hasn't really shown any even small sign of emotion.
None.
So
I don't think he's capable of empathy, of compassion, of, I don't think he's capable of love. I truly, truly believe that. So me professing my love for my sisters isn't going to do shit. It's just not. I get it.
So she is psychologically knowing how to go at him. Seriously. Patterson changed your mind fast. Patterson's book's a joke. Patterson's book is a goddamn joke. But when I say that, it was like written poorly. But 320 people were interviewed, okay? And we have no idea if James Patterson or Vicky Ward, what they took from it. And you have no idea what's on my mind. You know how I know that you have no idea? Because you would never write that. Because nothing has changed. Me cheering on a fucking sibling of a murder, like someone that was murdered, to say how much thought that she's put into this, and that you break it all down, she's absolutely going about it the right way. I think that he fucking said he killed her sister. Who do you want her to fucking go in there and open? You want her to open up the fucking what? Bill Thompson's ass? Like, fuck, people. All right. If Brian didn't do it, trust me, one day Brian can fucking take his big fucking boy pants on, put them on, and say he didn't do it and go fucking file an appeal. Okay. This isn't what that's about. This is about Olivia and anybody else that is a victim and wants to get up there, and you fucking just said that you killed 4 people. Look at you. Look at you just sitting there. Why would you go 2.5, 3 years? I mean, I would be saying stuff like, I don't think prison is anything different than what you've been living for the past 30 years with your right hand stroking your fucking dick and balls because no girl will bang you. I'd go ham on him. Why? Because he said he killed my fucking sister. Jeez, people.
Is your dad? Do you know if your dad's going to go? Because I remember he was saying that he wasn't thinking of it. He wasn't planning on. I think he was emotional after the plea deal.
We all have a diva moment here or there. Okay. No, and I won't even. I'm joking. I'm not calling it a diva moment. Yes. So we will be attending. Right now, I know for sure myself, my mom, and my dad are going to be making speeches. I think my brother is as well.
No shit, I would want facts. Guess when
there's other members of our family who definitely wanted to, but they were.
You're not going to get them from fucking Brian Kohberger, and you're sure as fuck not going to get them from Bill Thompson. You're going to get them from the Discovery. And what do we do here? We go and get the docs. We go and get the docs. Okay? Because you know what she can say one day? She can say all of this stuff because guess what? You pled guilty, right? So I can say all this stuff. If it comes out and you were innocent, then guess what she can say? Why did you plead guilty? And oh my God, I'm really sorry for all the things that I said, even though you told me that you killed my sister. Like, it's one thing when you're in a room with cops, okay, and they are trying to coerce you into a false confession, okay? He has rode with Ann Taylor and her fucking team for 3 years, people. 3 years. Brian Kohberger is doing what's best for Brian Kohberger. Or his family. They don't want to see him get shot up on the block. I don't know. Okay, but regardless, we know that the story isn't the story. You know how we also know it? We're going to be able to prove it is when we get the Discovery. But Bill Thompson, she said in the beginning, he's saying all these things. We can't do this. We don't know this. We don't know this. We can't prove this. Da, da, da. And it's like, wow. Think about it. Wow. Yeah, you have a weak case. This case, the workers, the cops, the FBI, they violated our rights. Okay, that's what happened in this case. Doesn't mean Brian's innocent, but fuck, you don't get to go around violating our rights. So if that means that he gets to walk because you guys didn't do your job, hey, because my rights aren't going to be violated because they matter. That's my whole stance. And that you're going to then babysit this little freak show for the rest of your lives so that he can never hurt anybody. We're going to get the documents. This is how innocent people get wrongfully accused and then wrongfully convicted. Brian, of all people, he's a criminal justice person. I'm sorry, but basically Judge Hippler's orders, he could use those for ineffective assistance of counsel based on the orders because he's basically ripping Ann Taylor every time he's giving an order. And he could, and I think that they're going to be doing something like that. I think that he is probably going to go and beeline it to appeal up the chain. But the sentencing is for that's the day that is for the victims and their families. That's part of the due process that I believe in. And that's the day for them. Did they want it this way? No. They want all the information. They don't even feel like they can give the speeches that they wanted to give because they don't have the information. Can you imagine that? This is just a fucking shit show. And I feel really bad. That I couldn't imagine. They've just got Bill Thompson has told them something at every stage, and everything that he's told them has literally not happened. Has literally not happened. I mean, everything. There is not one promise that Bill Thompson has been able to keep. Can you imagine that? Well, clearly it's got the attention of our president. And I'm loving that. So, fuck yeah.
We're not statutory victims of the crime, so they were not able to. So we were bound by parents, step-parents, siblings, and grandparents.
Oh, so you like a best friend or someone like that?
Nope. Not even like in lieu of. So, my two younger sisters don't want to go onto the stand, and I don't blame them at all. I support that. I support whatever they want to do, not that I support that specifically. And so we asked if my aunt could in lieu of that, and we were told no because she wasn't a statutory victim.
I guess to me, it just seems like, why not? Like, if he's already pled guilty and this is finally the family's chance to have their moment after all this time, like, what's the downside?
Yeah, we definitely had feelings like that. But you pick your battles.
Yeah.
That's a battle we've lost. We can always come back to it later.
Or do we think that Dylan and Bethany are going to give statements?
But we're not going to change their minds by kicking and screaming.
Would you, if you were Dylan and Bethany? I know I would. I'd be raising holy hell. I'd be like, listen, people think that I fucking know you, man. People think that I fucking bang you. People think that I've saved your number in my phone. People think that I helped you commit these heinous crimes, you little cocksucking bitch. I don't know you. I've never met you. I would never let you touch me. Like, I'd be going ham, right? Just because I was having Borg night with my friends and I was blasted and I told those officers that I thought I set up firemen. I thought this and I thought that. And it's because I was hammered. Because we actually have fun. Unlike you have no friends. We're getting blasted. And the number that I was saving at 3:51 in the morning, he knows who he is, okay? I mean, everybody thinks that Dylan and Bethany are one of them. Like, I have to live with the rest of my life that you didn't kill us. Like, we're these survivors, I'm just curious. Do you think that they're going to talk? I think, I don't know. I would. That's me. I would talk. But yeah. So. But this is a great interview. Great, I think she did a great job. And today's Monday, tomorrow's Tuesday, and then Wednesday is they have it scheduled. It could possibly be 2 days. So I don't know. But we're gonna end this out. I wanted to keep it right around an hour. Not every day you get to see that Donald Trump, our president, he has entered in the Idaho4 world. So keep on praying for the families, guys. Like, trying to think about putting myself into their shoes and going into that courtroom, it like gives me like, ooh, you know. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, subscribers, all the super chatters. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. You're absolutely amazing, Lana. So much love and respect and admiration. Thank you so much, Renee. Appreciate you. Very nice of you, Renee. Thank you, Lana, mods, and the best chat for the best transparency. I know I'm just all about transparency, man. And nobody's changed my mind about shit. I make my own mind up, and I don't make it up. I let I believe in innocence until proven guilty. You want to fucking say you killed 4 people in 4 or 5 minutes, and versus a couple weeks ago, you're talking about third parties, multiple weapons, and multiple people doing this. And I know how weak the case is because I know every single document. I know every exhibit that would be entered in that courtroom, with the exception of a couple things that I'm hoping get unsealed. And I will be having interviews and asking people right from the horse's mouth whatever they feel comfortable disclosing. And I hope other people out there that have connections or relationships, and they can have interviews as well. But the documents, yeah, that's what we want. Until next time, guys, truth and transparency. Appreciate you. And Olivia, great job. Good night. Sleep tight.